are we doing at home? Yeah, thank you. How are we doing at home here? Let's just see again. Hello again. Those are just coming in. We are live at our Monday class, and so many things I want to say, and so many things I want to simplify for us, because I think it comes down to simplification. And I want to put this, there's so much going on in the world, so many things we're overwhelmed with, and I want to kind of in few words to put it all together and then see how that can empower us for our daily practice, empower us for our relationship with self and with the loved ones and with strangers and with those we never met and with those we're going to meet in the future. It all together comes together. Let's just see how our video is. Michael and Michaela, hello. And you are, sound and video is very good. Michelle, sound good. I can hear very well, Peter says. Thank you, Peter, and you're here, checking from here. Thank you. And Phil says audio, video is great. Elvina, hello from Poland. And everybody else who's just coming in, please say hello. And we are ready to begin. Show myself here so I know that we are. I'm gonna go a little closer here. Oops. Okay, oops. What is going on here? Just 1 second, guys. Strange. Okay. Okay, better. Here we go. So, I was sharing with Peter earlier today. Peter came a little early and he helped set up. So we talked a little bit about challenges coming into our lives. And I said that I often, I don't feel sorry for people who have challenges. We're taught somehow you're supposed to feel sorry. I'm sorry that I don't feel sorry. And it's not because I don't empathize, but because I think that the challenges that come to our life in the same place, they are also great opportunities. But more so, they're great opportunities not only for us and in a selfish way, but they're great opportunities for us to emerge to be less selfish. It's not easy to hear, especially when you're in a challenging situation. But I think when I'm watching people in a challenging situation, you're able to see maybe a difference between people who are reactive, afraid, and become extremely selfish. You see the true nature of where they're at that moment, how they see the world for real. They're forced to take the mask off and show their true self in that moment. When they become selfish, they don't care about anyone but self, right? And they wouldn't do that extra sacrifice for others in a challenging situation. And then you see the complete opposite. For those people who you thought that were never there, they were loners, and suddenly you see their true self, the true color, when they come out and they are there for others. But ultimately, a challenging situation is not only showing us a mirror of who we truly are and for others to see, but a challenging situation gives us an opportunity to rise and change the relationship with self, to rise and change the way we see the world. It's an opportunity. It's a struggle, but it's also an opportunity. So at the same time as I watch people challenged by their personal life situations, life stories, by the the children, by their parents, by their maybe illness, maybe by their work situation, by all of that, by their spouses, uh, by the situation at home in the family, at work, by the economic situation. I see them struggle, but I don't feel sorry for anyone. I'm here to cheer for you, to use this situation in the best way possible. I'm here to cheer for you, maybe to inspire you in more than one way. With my words, hopefully, that remains almost as a container, but at the same time, I'm here to show you a way in which, when we take that time for inner work, then suddenly it becomes natural, more obvious, which much less anger and guilt and struggle and anxiety to use a challenging situation truly as an opportunity. If it's only a lesson, then it's for you. But if it helps you grow, then it's for everyone. I'll say that again because I believe that's important. If it's only a lesson, it's for you. Next time you'll be different, you'll learn, you'll prepare. But if you use a challenging situation as a platform, as a moment of growth, and that growth is not tangible, that growth is something that is like that extra drop that added, right, to cracking that rock. And in this case, I would say the rock is accumulated karmic veils that don't allow you to be your true self, that hold you back from feeling guided, and always you find yourself trying to overcome something or run from something or forget something. So I'm there when I look at people challenged in different ways, small challenges, big challenges, and even natural disasters. I'm not there feeling sorry for anyone. I can't help you by feeling sorry for you. I'm cheering for you. I use my words to inspire you, to let you know that you have more than you think you do. And by the work that I do, hopefully giving you tools to be able to not only survive this moment, this challenge, but also because of the work that you do, to actually be stronger and better into the next step. And so you're blessed with more challenges that will help you grow more and be a better version of you, to know yourself better. Those challenges become very rewarding, very welcome. And so I'm more of a cheerleader than anything else, right? My empathy is by being able to know where you're at, and the words that I use to be just challenging enough to inspire you and not too challenging to make you feel unable to overcome, right? To discourage you, not enough to discourage you, but enough to challenge you. And the strength that we learn to gain with every challenge is not the obvious strength that we think that we're gaining. We're here at a relatively advanced class. The strength that we are gaining is actually a strength. And I shared that with Peter as well today. Peter was walking around with his phone recorder after me, and I was just pouring my heart out, right? As we were both setting up the place. So I've said that the true strength that we gain from the work that we are doing, and it's not obvious, right? It's something that requires work. It requires overcoming many challenges to bring yourself to that. That strength is to know that, listen to this, it's not so obvious. The strength is to know that you don't have to have all the strength, that you don't have to have all the knowledge, that you don't have to have what it takes. What you need to have is the ability to let it guide you. That the challenging situation often requires growth. And growth is that space between where you're at and where you need to be, where you need to be to survive even. And that gap is the unknown for you. That gap is not the obvious. That gap is not something you've experienced before, learned, and clearly know how to. That's growth. So the true strength that we gain through the work that we are doing, and if we have survived something without diminishing us, if we survived and grown from it, from life situations, then what we have gained as strength is the ability to go into the unknown and the ability to truly not have to have the strength to overcome the biggest mountains, but to allow the mountains guide you through. It's the opposite. And those who think that they've gained the strength to be there with their might, they will find that it will be self-destructive to them. They won't be able to overcome. It's almost like the process itself. It's almost like allowing yourself to be innocent like a child again in the toughest situation. It's not easy. This is why we need the work, the inner work. This is why we need to go in a meditative state and expand our self-identity and the vocabulary of the senses. So what I'm saying right now, not only, yes, we agree with it, or we somewhat understand it, but we become it. It becomes a more and more natural. Not to say that you won't have to remind yourself, because it's not yes or no, it's not black and white. But we will be able to feel the guidance and know we're guided, to notice it. Right? In the same way, again, something we talked about so much in the 15 minutes. Yeah, together we talked about. Peter asked, I think, about what was it that you said when I said that suddenly you have so many more opportunities to be happy.
So you meditate, but you can still enjoy life indoors.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. So some people obviously have this notion that meditation kind of tames your desires, right? Ultimately, they're afraid. Actually, a lot of people who are extremely successful and living on the edge, extremely successful, millionaires, billionaires, those who make a difference in the world, they're still afraid to meditate because in their mind, they still have this notion that meditation eliminates desire. That when you're meditating, you're numb, quiet, empty, nothing, and nothing bothers you, nothing. And they self-identify with that struggle. They self-identify with struggle, with overcoming, with great desires, with not sleeping nights, with always having to fight and win, and that satisfaction that goes fight with self, fight with others. Still do good things. It has nothing to do with the direction you're taking, but ultimately through a fight that gives you a sensation, a really truly physical sensation, that's self-identifying, and they're afraid that if they lose that sensation, they may not be able to continue leading their company, leading the people, being useful, being powerful. So coming back to the question of, what was it again?
if you meditate, you still enjoy life.
Mm-hmm.
And now I was thinking that talking about successful people like Phil Jackson, the great basketball coach, was
Yes.
making the team meditate and they were winning the
Right.
championship.
Right. No, absolutely. But I mean, this is example. But so what I've answered, yeah.
So the idea was that when you meditate, but outside the meditation, you still enjoy life, you still enjoy your work, you still enjoy your family, you still enjoy Wonderland.
Yeah, that's how Peter presented it, and again, I reminded. I'm sorry.
I don't know if they hear.
They heard you. They heard you. I raised the volume on them. I think they heard you well. Let me just ask him. Could you hear Peter well, or do I have to repeat his question? And Faye, hello, Faye, and yeah. Okay. Let me see. Can you hear Peter, guys? What he's talking about, or should I repeat it?
It took about 15 seconds from when you were said.
That's why I'm waiting, yeah. I just want to make sure that we're streaming and everything is okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, needs a repeat. Okay. Okay, Peter, you repeat.
Okay, so I understand that meditation is meditation, but after the meditation or during meditations, you can still enjoy life. You go to work, you enjoy your work, you can be passionate about your work, about your family, you enjoy Wonderland.
Yeah, so I think you heard it this time. So can you really enjoy life after meditation? Because again, it says that you go into a state of this calm, emptiness. So, of course, where we come from, we understand that our goal in meditation is never and will never be a calm place. It will never be a place of non-movement. It will never be a place of non-thought. It will never be a place. This is not the goal. Our goal is to express the truth of the moment. Our goal is to express movement when it's needed and stillness when it's needed. To express a clear mind from agitation and worry and stress and survival needs when it's needed, and survival thoughts when they're needed during the meditation. Our goal during the meditation is not to eliminate anything at all, but to truly be embraced with what is and to use it as an inspiration for growth. To allow us to truly be finally in unity with our body, with our experience, with our truth of the moment, to observe it as it is, as we are, to experience it the best way we can, and then in that unity, in that maybe first time ever ability to accept the moment as it is, because that's not what we're taught and that's not what we do in our everyday life. We always desire a different moment. We always try and manipulate the moment, justify the moment, bring moments that are not even there because we're afraid they will come into our moment's experience, into our mind. Somehow adjust what we see, what we say, how we move, how we stand, everything, but not what we are at and where we are at that moment. We're fighting against truth every single moment because of some perceived, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I'm saying is during the meditation, we do the ultimately opposite, at least for this moment. We're finally looking at the truth as it is. And not only to learn from it, there's nothing to learn from the posture. The truth, beginners ask me all the time, what does that posture mean? What does that sensation really mean? Okay, so there is a meaning to that, but that meaning is so dynamic. It's so unique to where you're at, to your 3 stages of development. Are you right now overcoming the first elephant, the reactive state? Are you right now overcoming the beyond survival state where you are correcting all the reactive states that you've achieved up until now? Or are you already working on the karmic elephant where you are living your purpose from what you've taken from your ancestry, from your past generations, from your past reincarnation, quote unquote? And you're now living to empower that into your life. Where in each posture, each movement, each experience is truly inspiring the growth there. But the beauty is that we are going into our whatever hour, half an hour, 10-minute meditation. We're going there not for any other reason, but to use that time to inspire ourselves, to expand through the truth that we find there, inspire ourselves into a new perspective. That new perspective, when I say perspective, is just in the mind, but what we're doing with the mind, which is the most powerful tool we have, is embodying it and observing it in the experience of the senses, in the experience of the body. When we do that, we truly expand, awaken a greater possibility, greater vocabulary of the senses, which allows us then, when we open our eyes, it's nothing for the meditation. Meditation itself is just a tool. It's just, an exercise. But you don't exercise for exercise. I know how much fun it is to sweat and push and feel accomplished. But I hope that you don't go exercise for the exercise itself. You're not addicted to exercise. Like I don't want you to be addicted to meditation. Meditation is not a place to escape and feed your addictions. Patterns. We all have those addictions. We're all addicted to something. Addiction is part of some survival mechanism of repeating the same thing and feeling that you're at home. But it's an opportunity if done right. And if done right, I'm saying it with very carefully, because done right doesn't mean done right all the time perfectly. It means done better and better and better and better every time you do it. It's not done, quote unquote, right to the best of your ability at this moment, knowing that you will do better next time and next time and next time. And ultimately, I don't know if there is a place where you're going to say, okay, now you're perfect. Now you visualize everything the right way. I don't think it's even necessary, because we're talking about needing the challenges as inspirations for growth. So perfection is actually not even desired. It's not even possible, but not desired. The journey is desired. The journey is desired. So going back to Peter's question, how are we going to enjoy Wonderland or Disneyland if we meditate? Are we going to be numb to the experience?
I wasn't saying that.
You weren't saying that, but you kind of insinuating that people may be afraid that there's not going to be enough joy in their experience if they're going to come after a meditation. I'm like, everything is one, right? No.
I kind of wanted to explain it, so because I believe what you say.
Yeah.
Truly believe it.
So what ultimately happens is this. Hello, Marco. What ultimately happens is this, that when we don't meditate, and I'll say we don't meditate for everyone. Doesn't matter how advanced you are. Doesn't matter how enlightened you are. Doesn't matter how much you're aware. Doesn't matter how kind you are. Doesn't matter how much growth you've had, how much experience you've had. Doesn't matter. If you don't continue the practice, you are not continuing to grow. And growth from wherever you're at is life. It's what internally you have an unconscious push towards. And when that growth doesn't happen, you feel stress and anxiety. I've looked at a diagnosis so many times, and I can tell you when the momentum is down, it could be down for anyone. Doesn't matter where you're at. Your spleen right away reacts. And based on your predisposition, different organ systems, life situations will start arriving. Predisposition, karmic predisposition. All three elephants play a role. So somebody will say, oh, it's my karma. No, there's karma. There is what you've created in this lifetime. And there is what you're still creating right now. And those are stages of growth, which we all take. So the moment you open your eyes after a meditation, at least this much, you are sensing the guidance towards more so than the need to escape something. When you open your eyes after the meditation, this much you feel that you're inspired by more things than you are afraid and unhappy with things, whether within yourself or with others or life situations. You see more opportunity in things, the challenging things and the easy things, than you see problems with them. Same things. But that's not only that. When you come out from a good meditation, at least a little bit, you start seeing more things. Suddenly you have much more things you notice, and many more things you can have joy from, even the things that you've never noticed and you may have considered to be simple and not important. Suddenly you gain joy from them. You start smiling by seeing things that were around you all the time and you've never noticed their existence. You start smiling in response to words and reactions of other people that may have been there before and done exactly the same things, except it didn't awaken a smile in you because you didn't notice. And your mind, suddenly your survival mind, because you've expanded the vocabulary of your senses, starts noticing things that are inspiring versus noticing things that you feel threatened by. Because survival mind, the more the quote unquote the energy as it drops, as the momentum drops, naturally in a conscious state, you must notice things that are threatened by. You must remember things from the past that have threatened you, and it brings it into your reality of today, and through that lens you see the world. Because this is where the energy is at. So you look in the same reality, the same room you're in, suddenly you see more beauty than things you have to fix. So you go out, starting with your own internal experience to everything else around you, suddenly you gain more joy from everywhere you go, including Disneyland. You will notice the colors more, you will notice the smells more, you will notice the music more, you will notice it, but not from a perspective of, oh my God, there's so much noise in here, so many people, it's so hard and hot and lineups. you won't notice that, because your mind will naturally shift into noticing that which is new and exciting and inspiring. So in the same place, you will have more joy. And it's true to everyone. It's not only true to some people. So everyone who has gone through proper inner work will find their world more colorful and the symphony more rewarding. And it will begin with their relationship with self. And it will begin by them, and I will close the circuit here. It will begin by them feeling less, I will overcome this. I can do this. Even though this is what a lot of people preach. You wake up in the morning and you say, you are beautiful. You are powerful. I am the best that ever happened to other people.
Ignore everybody else.
Huh?
Ignore everybody else.
Well, it separates you from others. No?
No, that's.
I don't know. Do they say ignore everybody else?
Yeah, it's I. Worry about others.
Or, okay, so in the spiritual realms, I can help everyone. You don't need to help everyone. You have to help them help themselves. And that takes you actually out of the picture. That's a tough thing to do when you wake up with a big I.
What do you think about the I am that I am?
I've talked about it before. I am that I am is it's not a right translation. Yeah, I am that I am actually is coming from. I'm surprised why they translate it that way, because it's actually what's written is Iyeh Shel Iyeh. And Iyeh Shel Iyeh actually means that's what I am that I am is, right, in the original text. And Iyeh Shel Iyeh, this was what the whole situation is. I don't know if you know the story to what degree and how much it was taught, but Moses was chosen to bring the people out of Egypt, and the people were slaves, and they felt slaves, and they had slave mentality, and they had self-identity of a slave, which means they're not self-starters. They don't know or trust that they can do things on their own. Through generations, they've been a slave nation. And then suddenly Moses, who was taken from the slaves, but was found by the in the Nile, right, by the Pharaoh's daughter, right, or wife, daughter or wife, daughter, I think, yeah, and taken as her own son, and brought up as a prince, and the next Pharaoh. He was supposed to be the next Pharaoh, right, of Egypt. Suddenly, he recognized empathy towards somebody who was unfairly treated. And something awakened in him, and somebody told him, and started to look for his roots, and he found that he was part of the slaves and not part of the pharaohs in his bloodline. So he left the pharaohs and started to exploring his roots. And suddenly, in him, what was inspired in him is actually a pharaoh mentality. Power, greatness, ability, God-like ability, right? Pharaohs related themselves and equated themselves to have God powers. And he heard that calling. After he accepted that, he didn't want to accept that mission of taking the slaves out of Egypt, but he took it. But then he got scared when he was told, go and tell them that that they can be free from the sense of slavery, right? We're not only talking physical slavery. It's not enough to take a man out of slavery. You have to give him the freedom to be free, internal freedom, sense of freedom. Otherwise, they won't survive as free. So he asked God, he said, hold on a second. Okay, so I will go and tell him, but who should I tell him sent me? That was the question, ultimately translated as an answer to I am that I am. So I am that I am, what does it mean to you? I am that I am means absolutely nothing to me unless I understand in the original text what it meant. The original text meant, it shall be as it shall be. That was a translation of I am that I am. That was a true literal translation. I don't know how they got I am that I am. I have no idea how they translated it that way. I don't know how many languages this translation passed until it became this in English. It shall be as it shall be, right? Yeah, shall be, yeah. And what does it have inside, even on the simple level? I'm the one who gives you the freedom to go into the unknown and own the place you arrive. That's what it means. So I don't know what others see in this, but ultimately, I am that I am in this Iye Asher Iye means that you will come out of where you're at, and you'll come to a place which you don't have to know, but I'll show you that that place will be the place you want to be. Ultimately, everything we're doing in our meditation. Right?
Thank you for explaining.
Right. Okay. Okay. So,
the desires change.
I'm sorry?
You also mentioned the desires change.
Yes.
I don't know if you want.
Yeah, I've said that sometimes, again, in the external world, in a world in which people perceive that the mind begins everything. And they're absolutely right. In their world, the mind begins everything. The mind's, I think that I am, right? And then I make myself that, right? Very empowering thought. Right? Change your mind, change your life. Yes, absolutely right. So I actually agree with that. Except, with all the respect, that is just a part of the full picture. It's not the full picture. The full picture is this, that you are forced to use the mind to change how you feel and to change where you're going when you're at survival. But the thought is actually something that can be awakened and shifted when you work from within. In the order of things, thought, right, is not the first thing that happens. Energy changes and thought changes. After a good night's sleep, a thought changes. After a good meal, a thought changes. All of those are energy. You change even at the survival level. After a good meditation, you expand the vocabulary of your senses. Your thought is a lot more educated. It's a lot more encompassing. It's a lot more past and future, not only past, not only the resolution of this moment. That's what the thought is when we're thinking of change your thought, change your life, is limiting your life into this moment as if this moment is, do or die. So when you're in a survival state, the thought is the only thing you have to go by. But this is why we separate life and meditation, everyday life and meditation, where during meditation, we don't make thought as a leader. Thought becomes something that is born in our meditation. And then that new state of thought that is born during the meditation suddenly guides our everyday life in a new way, redefined. And this is why I always say some people have this thing, I need to know my purpose in life. And once I know my purpose in life, I can push for the rest of my life trying to achieve that purpose. And I'm saying, so great. Continue doing what you're doing, except allow your purpose to be redefined based on the new you. Don't limit yourself to the old ways of reactive state. Now you have attached yourself to a purpose of somebody who's no longer you. And sometimes that's the best. Most of the time when we are living our everyday life, where do we find our purpose if we are not truly connected to self? We find our purpose in what other people seem to be achieving and doing right. We borrow them, their desires. We borrow their purpose, try and fit it on ourselves, and then struggle for the rest of our life. Even if we achieve what they've achieved, we could never be happy there because it was never our suit. It was never our dress. With all the respect, you self-destruct in the process and you completely destroyed when you arrive because you realize, hold on a second, this is not even mine. And I've lived all this life, sacrificing everything, my family, my health, my sanity, to arrive to a place where I thought would fulfill me. And now I'm there. I had a vision board and I arrived to it. Wow, hallelujah. And now that's not me. I don't resonate with that. So in the process of the work that we are doing, the meditation, in the process, we have to be free not only to redefine it in our meditative state, but also allow ourselves to redefine it in our everyday life, not to feel that you are changing your mind all the time. You're not. You're freeing your mind to be, as you are more in tune with who you are, which happens during meditative state, so you are more in tune with your ultimate purpose. And your ultimate purpose is not based on survival. Your ultimate purpose is based on growth, which could only show the sparks when we reach the third elephant. Then we start talking about purpose. Up until then, we are forced to imitate other people, to borrow from other people, and that's fine, as long as you understand that that is just temporary. To be able to do that, those words which I'm saying right now are not easily accepted. And more so, even if they're accepted, they're not easily put into action. And what's required more is just, what I've said, you heard, excellent. Now we go into our meditation. We reach a certain state in which what I've said, you may forget, but you will be reminded because that's how you're going to feel. Your aha moment will be, what I'm just describing right now will be not my words that you need to remember. It will be your aha moments because it's part of yours. It's not part of mine. It's ours. It's just nature. So you will awaken into those aha moments. And we've done this, right? How many times we said, and then, right, Andre would say, yeah, I've heard this, I know this, but now I have to do this, and it's not as easy when it's in action, right? So.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
About karma?
Sure. Is it related to what we're talking about somewhat?
Well, I think so.
Okay.
Correct me if it's not, but I think so.
Yeah. Hello, Ben. Hello, Irena. Yeah.
I have heard you say, I think the last two classes, a few times over the year about how we can change karma.
Right.
And earlier today you mentioned a little bit something about the natural disaster. And
right.
So my question is, does changing karma, or our karma, have limitations? Because I want to have a better understanding about this karma that you talked
Sure.
about.
Speak up a little bit.
Okay, so does changing karma have its limitations to each individual? Because, for example, if I could completely change my karma, then, I've met parents who have lost children, children have died. So if I can change my karma, I would not choose for my son or daughter to die before me, because we're conditioned to things against the grace of nature that we expect to die before our kids. Natural disasters, what's happening, what has happened, so many innocent people, children died. So if we can change our karma, I think you understand what I'm saying.
How would you change your karma? If you had, based on what you're saying right now.
Does karma have its limitations? Can we completely change it, or does it have its limitations that we cannot completely change everything?
I think I understand.
There are some things.
Do you remember most of your day today?
Yes.
Okay. How, if you had the power, magically, magic wand, to wave and change the day to the best karma that you could possibly think of, how would you change today?
I would not change. The only thing I would not change today. The only thing that I would change is that I would have disciplined myself to wake up earlier than what I did.
Okay. Do you require karma for that, or alarm clock?
No, you require an alarm clock.
Alarm clock. So you can change it tomorrow.
Yeah.
No karma needed.
That's right. Yeah. So I don't know how I would change it today.
So what's your question?
Well, I would change okay, sure, because we meditate every day. If that's
No. I'm.
okay.
You
So
see,
I'm confused. So my question
I'm
is
confused.
just changing the karma, because I have heard you say several times that we can change our karma. So some things I understand. Okay, I know that if I don't fix my bed in the morning, God's not going to come. Karma's not going to come and fix it for me. I still have to wake up and fix my bed and do what I do, and pursue my desires.
Do you know that? Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm just wondering, does karma have its limitations? Are there certain things in each person's life that, they may go off track, there's the road, they have to end up there, they may go like this, but they're still gonna get there. Are there certain things that cannot be changed? There's certain things that are written, like, it's interesting because an aunt of mine said last week that the old folks back in the villages, like the great-great-great-grandmothers would say that when the infant is born, when the soul is born, it's already written, or what they're going to go through in their life, like the biggest events in their life, I guess. I don't know, kids, dads, like the biggest events in one's life are already there when the soul comes into this life. So I understand that I can change my job. I can become a better person. I can meditate to get to the elephants, like you said, of course.
What do you understand in that? What do you understand in change? What do you understand in that change that I'm talking about?
Well, I've seen changes in my own life with meditation. So I completely, okay.
Let me try it.
Okay, but does karma have its limitations? Like, are there certain things that are meant for us in this physical life that, like, if it's in our cards for us to lose a child, can we change that? Like, can we change our karma that our child doesn't die? If it's in our cards, we each have a deck of cards. If it's in our cards to be caught up in a tsunami and drown, or to lose our 5-year-old, can we change that so it doesn't happen to me?
Is that an interesting question?
Or not?
Let me try.
Or can we change 90% of our karma because there's things that are there?
Let me try and explain. Very often, the understanding of karma, and this is going to be the last question. We're going to do meditation. Yeah. Very often, the understanding of karma can be, I guess, understood from a survival perspective and from a beyond survival perspective. Okay. Agreed? Like everything else. Everything that we understand, right? Everything that we see, everything that we encounter, every challenge that we have can be received from a survival perspective and a beyond survival perspective. From a survival perspective, I would guess that you're asking right now, how much of my life situations that are challenging would I be able to eliminate?
Yeah, how much of my karma can I really change?
Right. So from the survival perspective, the way you understand karma is that karma is something that when you are when the karma is quote unquote bad, right? Then you will have challenges along your life. Challenges such as sounds in the middle of a presentation that stop you from your thinking properly and you lose your thought because of it. So if my karma was very, very good, I would have right now not have the sound happen to take my thought away from the conversation. Or that's from the survival perspective. I would want to eliminate that sound. From a beyond survival perspective, I would say, wow, that sound, when it arrives, instead of taking me away from the line of thought, it would help me use it as an example to empower you to see that that which happened could have been a challenge, or it could have been rewarding because now it inspired me to use it as an example. I wouldn't have a real life example. It came so perfect. Does that make sense?
No.
So right now, wait. No, then I'll explain. That sound that just arrived, if I wasn't meditating, quote unquote, yeah? If I was still in my survival state, dealing with my own little issues, big issues, my own self to that degree, then this would be so distractive to me that I would say, oh, I can't believe it. Who's doing this? Why is it happening? Why in the middle of my presentation, in the middle of a thought, I was just about to say something good and it interrupted me, and I would react to that, lose my thought, and create an uncomfortable situation for both me and you at home and, for everybody else. Or because I do everything I can to work on myself every day and expand. The moment that situation happened, I was able to notice it for what it is, as an opportunity to show you that now can be a lesson, real life situation lesson right in front of us as I'm speaking. An interference came and I used it as a lesson to say, here, I use it as an example. Not only did it not interfere with me, I was able to use it as an example to show you that something that could have been challenging and destroy our conversation can now become empowering. Does that make sense? No.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, whatever you're saying is fantastic and great.
But it's real.
Hold on.
It's true. That's how it happened, right?
Hold on, and it does make a lot of sense. However, so am I hearing from you that if my son died tomorrow, oh, thank you God, I'm going to be inspired. I'm inspired now? I'm talking about real.
This was not real enough for you?
No, that was real, but real tragedies. So what I'm saying, certain things in a person's path,
right,
okay, that are very, I'm not talking about, what you said was very real, but that was
not real enough.
So how can you change from losing a child?
How
can you change the karma of having a child that has cerebral palsy? How can you change the karma? I know actually someone very real and alive, and he had this rare disease, gangrene. They cut off both of his, he has no limbs in a little, so you think if you asked him that he can change his karma, that he will not be wanting to have changed the karma so his legs don't get cut off? These are the things I'm talking about. I'm not talking, from my life experience, I think we have a lot of control over our lives. and a lot of choices we make, but I'm just wondering if the karma has limitations in the most, you know, how can you change from having a child that doesn't have cerebral palsy? How can you change, you know, if you had a child and they passed away at 15 years old or 20 years old? Like if you were asked, of course I want to change the karma. I would meditate 10 times a day to change the karma, not to lose my son at 20 years old. But I still lost my son. I haven't personally with them, but you know, but a parent may still lose their son at 20 years old. So that's my question on a deeper level. I wonder if maybe 90% we have control over our life, like we can change our karma and create our lives, because I believe we are the director of our own movie. Okay, we all have a movie, we all have a camera. But I wonder if there are, you know, certain things, like I believe every one of us has a deck of cards or whatever you want to call it. And I wonder if, so your answer was great in the 90%. So am I supposed to be inspired if my lens get, well, yeah, in a way, I guess you can be inspired. Yes. I mean, I can see the flip side. Who was it that lost their child and they made the big TV show, right? To help find other missing children and other, so yes, in that way, sure. You know, but the, you know what I mean?
You're starting to answer your own question.
Yes, sir, but I don't know if yes, of course. You know, I have a very good Orthodox Jewish friend. He found his son dead overdose in his room, and in the eulogy, he says it goes against the grace of nature. We expect to bury our children, you know, but he went on and he started, after a few years of really punishment happened, you know, I mean, he's still alive. He didn't kill himself, right? But my point is that, yeah, you know, if something like this happens to me, if it's my cards for something like this to happen to me, of course, you know, God doesn't give anything to anybody that they cannot handle. Of course, I guess I'm not going to commit suicide. I'm still going to live on, and I'm still going to survive, you know, whatever, live. However, I wasn't able to change that karma. Now I will have to deal with the after effects of the tragedy that happened to me. And then I guess that, of course, I suppose afterwards, it will be my choice how I want to deal with it, right? Or how I will deal with it. Whether I will literally take a gun and kill myself, or whether maybe I will do seminars or help other parents that have lost a child. Okay, I suppose after that, that would be my choice. But
Are you answering your own question, or you don't see it how you are?
No, I am, and I see it. But what I'm saying though is, initially though, we cannot change the karma of certain things if it's in our deck of cards. You know, if it's in my cards for me to lose a child, it doesn't matter what I do. It doesn't matter if I meditate 10 times a day. I believe if it's in my cards, that child is meant to go. How I deal with it afterwards, that's a different. So that's my question. Does it have limitations? Do you guys understand what I'm saying? No?
I'm asking if you can prevent some disastrous events, tragic events, by somehow affecting the karma through meditation, through spiritual growth. Can we influence 100%, or there is certain things you cannot influence no matter what you do?
Yes.
But you can influence a portion of it.
Yes.
This is how I understand your question.
Anybody wants to answer for me?
The question is also if you want your son not to die, that's his karma, not yours.
If I what?
If your son is supposed to die, that's his karma, not yours.
Yeah, I get that as well, but you're immediately involved. I mean, if your son or daughter passed away, that would greatly affect you, no?
Yes.
As a parent.
Yes.
So it's his karma, but it's also your karma because he's your son and he's your daughter. right?
Yes and no.
So you,
It's always
At home, can you hear her questions? Because I turned on really loud the microphone. Can you hear her conversation well? Please let me know.
God forbid. That will not affect you.
It would.
Well, then that's part of your path to experience that, right?
Yes, but if I change my past, it's how I relate to it. Not, can I change? The question would be, can I change somebody else's karma?
No, but your son's karma is tied to you.
Yes, but if I change it, I change the other person's karma.
Right, so that's my question. Can you actually change your karma to a point where you can eliminate real tragedies, like deep tragedies? Or is it just like 90% that we can change?
So only non-deep tragedy, like sound effects during my presentation, we can
I give you an
change.
example. Can you change your karma for a parent not to lose their child? Can you change the karma for somebody's legs not to be cut off? You know, can you change the karma that for your son not to drown in a tsunami? Or is that written?
Who started tsunami?
Or is that written in a soul, when a soul is born in this physical life? Is that written, I mean, those big, you know, their mission, their purpose, or their job here is from here to there, and they're gonna end up there, maybe they go like this on the way, but they're still gonna end up there.
It's an excellent question. Excellent question. Again, at home, can you hear the question completely? Because by no means I can repeat it. Hear all of the conversation. Thank you. And Faye is trying to help and answer. There are things out of our control. However, we control the perspective and how we gain from those experiences. That's Faye's response to that. Can somebody help me here, maybe? Or at home, if you have enough patience to write? Yeah, Michelle says we can hear the conversation well. Thank you, Michelle.
Well, Faye, yeah, Faye's correct. That's what I was trying to say. Yes, that are there things out of our control? Exactly, that we cannot change, but how we react to what happens, or how we, the perspective, of course, that, you know, whether we go mentally insane or whether we, you know, help others, that's, you know, that's true.
So it's related to what you were talking about before, that it's gonna be, yes, it's gonna be like you go into the unknown, like a child participate in a world war or something, but so that's the unknown, and you will react in a certain way.
Well, I want answers from you. I think we have a very strong group here,
Yeah,
and yeah.
Just to answer, just one thing, I'll just give an example. I was very young, but I remember, because I was born in the village in Greece, but I started kindergarten, so I was very young when my parents immigrated here, but I'm the youngest of 5 kids. So I remember when I was young, hearing about my great grandmother, who was like a midwife, you know, up in the mountains, in the villages, and they used to, you know, I mean, they told time by nature, my ancestors by nature, they followed the moon, the stars, the time they would, you know, they would tell the time by whatever the.
So they were just as good as birds. Birds can tell the hurricane coming way in advance without apparatus, and they flew away. No birds were hurt in the hurricane.
Right. So they didn't have anything what we have today. Okay. And I remember that my father and my mother saying that when my brother was born, one of my brothers, it just so happened that one of those ancient, you know, grandmothers, and the midwife was there, and delivered the baby and held it in its hand, and said to my mother exactly what the Italians would say, like fortuna, right? Like and they said to my parents, she said to my parents after delivering the baby and held it in her hand, said about this boy, that he's going to do very well financially in his life. However, he will have a wife and not have a wife. Like he will have a wife, but he won't have a wife. But he's going to do very, and everything this ancestor, grandmother said as soon as she held the baby in her hand, in her arms, came true. My brother is very financially successful. He has a daughter, from a wife, but they're not together, but not a wife. Exactly what this grandmother said about his path. And she looked on the crown of his head. Like, I don't know, you know, that's what I'm saying, that does it have limitations? Do we have a path?
So, anyone else?
Like, I believe where you are right now, and where you're sitting, and how you're talking, I don't believe it's by coincidence. I don't believe because you made a decision that you want to do something else. I believe this was your calling, this was your, you know, there's no coincidence. You're there because this is where you're supposed to be.
I didn't choose to be here.
So that
It wasn't my life.
Okay, so that answers my question even more then. That there are no coincidences, right?
I did everything I can not to sit here in front of you today. Trust me, all my life. So, anyone else to answer that question? Can we change big events in our life by meditating?
As you said on the last call, we have an influence. It's not the Mother Nature changing and punishing us. We are creating the environment for this to happen, and we influence through our deeds, through our internal states, through our disconnect from higher self. This dissonance, this is how I used to. And somehow it has a shooting back in a way. Now you also stated about those people in ancient times were capable of feeling the natural disaster ahead of time, like birds and they're flying away. It means that today, in a way, we're not, because we're staying there. A big portion of those people will simply stay there because even despite of the television or media, in a way, this is again a disconnect from self. And this disconnect from self leads to a tragedy. And we just see the tragedy through our lenses, right? How can we prevent it? Another thing is that the karma of each person is individual. What you bring it in, it's absolutely individual. You don't know what that child had in the past because we treated it with our motherly love, and the tragedy for others is humongous. That's why we want to prevent it. But we don't know that unknown reasons. This is how simply thinking what I'm hearing.
Or unless we make the decision before we come in. Unless we make our own soul contract, like what we have to experience in this life before we come in. And we're unconscious, of course, because once we're born, we lose the awareness. Look at the Kennedys. I mean, that's, what kind of karma was that? The Kennedys, you know, how many deaths, I mean.
To me, it brings up questions that I had for a very, very long time. But can I be on top of a mountain with Andre, and I'm sitting on the top of the mountain and it's sunny, and he's sitting on the same top of the mountain at the same time and it's raining for him? And that kind of ties back to what I asked you before we started, that and you said that can other people see my reality? So that would tell you that can you change it? Like,
yeah. Marco is saying life presents our destiny through these opportunities to grow. Yeah. Let me go on a tangent a little bit. This conversation is so important. I wonder if, how much should I cut it for our meditation, or how much should I continue it so we can get an answer? Is this karma? When I'm about to give the answer, the person who asked the question had to leave. Right?
This is really challenging.
Not ready to listen to
No, but this is right. But this is a beautiful example for us. Guys, the person who asked the question for the last half an hour, the moment I said, let me answer, of no fault of hers, she had to excuse herself for a few minutes. It's not the first time she's doing that, by the way. Missing those moments. Coincidence? Maybe. Karma? Maybe. Can she change that? Maybe. So I'm gonna help her karma. I'm gonna not answer anything until she comes back.
Oh, thank you so much.
There you go. You're back.
Mother Nature called, I really had to go.
I know. So I'll go on a tangent a little bit, and I want to try and throw at, I love baseball, curveball. I've never played baseball. I'm going to throw a curveball. Right? In other words, it's not going to be easy to bat, right? That's what a curveball means. I'm going to lower the sound here. So, yeah. So the question here came, two things I want to answer, because I know people at home as well, they need an answer for that, because they heard things, they may assume that because I didn't say anything, that this is how it is in my world as well. But I should say, if it's in your world, it's in my world, and it's good. First of all, the question that I loved is, why did people in the past, maybe yes, maybe no, but could sense tragedy happening? They had strong instincts. And today, we're told that there is tragedy, and we still do not always believe and move. Well, first of all, I don't think that all people in ancient days all had that ability. But I think there were people in ancient days that could sense, like birds, tragedy happen. And I believe that a lot of us today can't. A lot more of us can't. A lot more of us not in tune with nature. We're not in tune with ourselves on that level. But I also must say that that level of intunement that we're talking about is purely survival. It's instincts. This is the level of intunement that allows us to timely prevent disaster to happen to us, so we can run away. And I believe that lucky for us that we're not living in a time where we're in tune to disasters and running away, because I believe we're actually living in time in which this is not what is supposed to be developing in us. We are living in a time where we need to develop a sense of guidance into a new place of experiencing life, and not to try and develop stronger and stronger instinct to run away and to be safe. We've finally reached a time in humanity where instincts are given to machines to predict hurricanes. We don't need that anymore. Where tools are given to the medicine diagnosis, we don't need to see an illness and where it's coming from in the body anymore. What we need is something completely different. And that's a time where we can develop it. So in a sense, we've been naturally taking that away, and it started being given to the artificial intelligence, and slowly, so many more things that we maybe in the past held as needed and holy and powerful, and we had pride in owning them, we slowly will see how those things become less and less important in our lives because technology will take it from us, from the necessity of having it and feeling it, and instead we would have to develop what we are truly living today for. And this is the sense of guidance, something that equipment, machinery at no level can have. A machinery at any level can only have what the past fortune tellers and those older ladies that looked at the baby, they had that, which machines have today. Right? A machine can look at your genes and say, this boy genetics is as such. He'll be physically strong. Soon they'll be able to say he is very talented in this way. And genetic engineering and manipulation of genes before a child is born is something that was developing from the 40s, from the Nazi Germany, by the way. That's where they put a lot of study, manipulation of genetics. Genetics started from those days because they tried to, and there's no political affiliation here, just they tried to create a perfect Aryan race by manipulating genes. And this is why they took the best doctors, the best scientists, put them together to try and use genetic manipulation. And I believe fruits and vegetables we're eating today, the way we grow, our crop today, is actually influenced by the research of the, during and before World War II, right? If that makes sense. So prediction of that old lady was purely on a looking at not into growth, but into instinct. Whatever is, this is how it's going to go. So if there's no growth in a child, there's no inner growth, then they will definitely can predict their future. When you're born under certain stars and a certain, this ancient astrology can tell exactly, predict your entire life. Fortune tellers can predict your future and say your family is no good for you and you should be somewhere else and you will meet somebody else. You can tell that for people who are in deep survival state, who their life is pretty much, you can predict their life if you look at how they're living. You can say in a year from now, you'll self-destruct. You'll lose your family. But because of the opportunity we have as humanity today, and those of you who are listening to this, who are here, who actually not only using the internet and books as information gathering, right? And but actually practice for self-development, right?
Do you think astrology is also survival, or not? Or you're not sure?
I said that, yeah. Astrology is survival.
Survival.
Absolutely, 100%. So the sign under which you're born, right, it would dictate your life unless you've grown. If you've grown, there is no sign in the world that can predict, because our true inner potential is much greater, right, than survival state. Anyways, so using that as an example, I said that what we seemingly losing as humanity, that instinctive ability to predict danger, is what we are losing on purpose. That's the design. We're losing it on purpose because we don't need it anymore. And expand that, look at it as a formula. As children, there's nothing that happens that is coincidental. The way we are as children, what we need, and then we lose some things, not because something gone wrong, but because new opportunities are awakened. When you lose one, you're forced to develop another. It's such a perfect system. So that was a little bit. That makes sense what I'm saying right now. Does it make you think a little bit? Outside of the box, just a tad? As we grow older, quote unquote, certain things are lost and other things are gained. Let's look at what we can gain from what aging gives us and how we can use it for greater good instead of reminiscing on what we've lost, thinking that something gone wrong. And using the entire science to try and bring back what nature has taken away. Does that make sense? We're using the biggest minds in the world, the biggest talents in the world. We're paying them to sit in a room and try to figure out how to go against nature. Out of good intentions. Not out of bad intentions, out of good intentions. Shirley is saying, I believe my karma was against me. If I believe my karma was against me, then truly I would be powerless and lost and full of fear. I used to be there. I know that space. How I know my karmic events are there for me and are working in my favor. Oh, now I know. Now I know my karmic events are there for me and working in my favor for the inner growth, not only for me, but somehow affects all. This is where I have arrived as of today, and the rewards from the challenges are so worth it. Mikhail and Michaela are saying, if karma is an energy field, we can change only events which are not become physical yet. The manifested karma is resolved by becoming real. I talk about 3 levels of awareness. Reactive state, beyond survival, karmic. I talk about, in parallel to that, exactly the same 3, a state of awareness. For self alone, to receive, to give, and pure giving. This is all one energy. But very often they're divided into those 3 for convenience sake, for us to better understand where we're at and how we see the world. What are the veils? From the reactive state, when an event happens in our life, from a reactive state, any event, any challenging event, doesn't matter if it's noise, the formula is the same. It's formula of life. Understand that. It's formula of life. This is why we can go meditate and solve our reality, because it's all formulas. It's all energies. It's all vibrations. It all looks the same. It's a wave, one energy, one vibration. When we go into a meditative state, the way we react to our own experience during meditation rewrites our entire self-identity. It doesn't require a disaster to do that. We precede it. We don't wait for a disaster in our life to have to face ourselves. We do it on a daily basis, drop by drop by drop, and crack the rock without pain. So, from a reactive perspective, when something challenging happens in our life, be it a noise in a room, or be it will be the same person, right? Don't underestimate. A noise in a room for the person who's so desiring to give good things to other people and this interrupted them. If they're in a reactive state, they would be upset internally. They may pretend everything's okay. And internally, they'll go, oh, does it have to happen to me? Why now? What's wrong with my karma? Right? They'll question that the same way as if there's going to be death. Exactly the same way. Reactive. Why? Because at that moment, the only way they see the world is from their own need of instant gratification for them right now. It's them and their pain. It's them and their luck. It's them and their karma. At that moment, nothing else is important. They can't see anything else. Like Peter said, they can't see that it's not only their karma right now. It's only their karma. It's the karma of the child as well. Whoever cares about what their karma is. It's the karma of their sibling. Maybe there's a sibling. Maybe you have a spouse. Maybe you have grandparents that care. Maybe there is influence on the school children that the child went to school with. It's their karma as well. It's everybody's karma, right? So from the reactive state, the only one thing that is important is how do I feel and how is my life been affected and why is it happening to me? When you raise the energy level and unveil another level of existence, you still may question somewhat that, but it may no longer be the focus. You may say, hold on. Life, like Shirley said, have brought me this. That's the truth. Like during meditation, when the posture is uncomfortable or it's hard to meditate, you say, wow, why now? Why me? I need to meditate so much. The same way, it's a formula, it's energy. I'm sorry that I'm reducing it, supposedly, to that. But no, I'm not. I'm raising it to that. I'm raising your internal potential, the work that we're doing inside, to the level of life situations. I'm really raising the value and recognizing that it's true tool of self-awareness change. So when you're in a little bit higher perspective on life, and suddenly you may recognize that, hold on, life has brought me this. Now what do I do with this? You're not questioning your past. You're not questioning why you, why now. But you're questioning, how can this moment bring to better and good, better things, greater things, but not only for me, for others. How can my life right now serve? That's what you're focusing on. Yeah, you've lost, but it's not only about you. You don't live for you. Maybe 1% of everything you do in your life is for you. And the less you understand it, the more you're suffering. And I'm talking to you right now, very advanced class. If I talk like that to the general public right now, most of them will walk away. They say, what are you talking about? Show me the money. What are you talking about? So the thing is that it's not often for us to clearly see and decide how much of life situations can or need to be changed. Ultimately, the higher level that we aspire for is to be able to look at life exactly as it's coming to us and to use it as an inspiration to make our life and the life of others better in this place. Personal karma, family karma, karma of nation, karma of humanity are rings in which we advance in the ability to sense the empathy for. If you only empathize for yourself, there's very little I can share with you today, aside from, here's a self-regulation a little bit, if you wish. But you're probably not going to do it because you won't understand how powerful that is for you. Saying that, every single internal shift creates a different sense of value in your life. Every sense of value that you shift in your life affects your family to the better, energetically. Small little shifts create over time huge changes in how life is presented to you. If you don't need that challenge, it won't come to you. That challenge is not to destroy you. That challenge is not to kill or for death or destruction. That challenge has a higher purpose. And whatever you see as higher purposes, that's what you will value. If physical safety is the higher purpose, that would be how you would see the world, and you would seek in changing karma physical safety. If there's another sense of what higher purpose is for you, that's where you would see the change in karma. Very individual for each person. But to sit there and wish to change your karma and line up a path of winning lotteries and eliminating all challenging people from your life may not be a proper purpose to set. During meditation, during your life, you set what you set. You don't really control that. If you're really true with yourself, there's only one way you wish things would happen. And that's the truth. And you please don't lie to yourself, or you're going to have a very hard internal dialogue. Am I making sense? It's not an easy conversation. And I'm holding back somewhat as well. But like you've said, this man that lost his child, somebody kidnapped him, right? And that one man that lost one child have saved lives of many, many other children. If his child wasn't lost, we would have a lot more children lost. I don't know. I'm not there to compare or to choose between the life of one and the life of many. I'm not. You choose to yourself what you think. It's the same thing happens in our body, by the way.
Belief systems have a lot to do with a lot of things too.
I'm sorry?
Belief systems.
Belief systems. When it comes to belief systems, I talk about the karmic scales and the value, the change of value, effort against reward. So the change of value redefines belief. Belief is very weak. Today you believe in one thing, tomorrow you believe in another thing. Somebody convinced you that that's better. You get, oh, I understand now. I didn't understand, so I believe in something else. I believe in science, then I don't believe in science.
Or the belief systems that a child grows up with into adulthood, do you call that something else?
I don't even understand what you mean. What are belief systems the child grows up?
As a child in an environment, growing up, through teenager, through to young adulthood.
Okay, well, what does this have to do with what we're talking
Because
about?
what you're saying, because a lot of those things are, maybe belief is the wrong word, but conditioning, or I don't know how to say it, ingrained in the individual, right? Is that called, would that fall under belief system or something else? Or the value, how they see the value of the scale?
Look, children, as they grow up, they will I'll give you an example. A child may come and be very rude and very angry and very selfish from a young age. And you see that quality in them, right? And you would try and tame that quality because, of course, I mean, respect is the key. Respect is everything in their life. If they don't respect their parents, they don't respect others, then obviously something's wrong, right? But you have to also understand that that respect is not, it's a growing pain that they're going through. That means that they have little respect for themselves. They don't believe in themselves. So they don't respect themselves. So therefore, they don't respect others. And ultimately, they just sold out to something external that occupies their mind and occupies them. Yeah. We have to be very, very careful not to kill that rebellious mindset, but to direct it in the right direction. Listen to this carefully. We have to be very careful not to tame them like a dog and eliminate that rebellion from them. We just need to direct that rebellion into another way where they would be able to grow with that. Because that could be also a sign of an incredible potential. But because we've taken it personally, we could hurt them in the process. It's very challenging. So challenging. So hard. Does that make sense? Just not. We have to see those things and just redirect it for growth. It helps, of course, if the child would be doing meditation. But sometimes meditation for a child is different than meditation for an adult. And I've taught children quite a bit. It's different. It gives different results. But it's powerful, nevertheless. But I don't have an answer necessarily of how, there's no clear answer how to do it, but we have to understand the dynamics. And the same goes for our own selves. We don't kill in us those things, the ego. We don't kill it. We direct it in the right way. So the answer, short answer to your question, yes.
Thank you.
Unlimited ability to change your karma, both from the perspective of how we respond to the world, which is ultimately the first thing that is important, and from the way we respond to the world, how our values would change, how we redirect our ego, would then allow us to shift our life and life situations to not require those for growth, because we have already resolved it. Nothing that our life will bring us is a waste. Nothing coincidental. Order of things. Reality is the last thing that happens. When it's individual, then we see it clearly. When it's family, we can't see it so clearly. When it's nation, we see even less of it, only later down the road. When it's humanity, we think it's an act of God. Noah's Ark. Anyways. Read the story of Noah's Ark. So I can't say any more than's already been said. But be very careful in the translation part. Can't help you with that right now. Very careful in the translation. Because sometimes the translation is dependent on the level of awareness of the time in which it was translated and the people who have translated it. Because then their values, their perspectives would be in the translation. Where the original text has no limitation, and it says the one that understands will understand. In other words, it has depth, unlimited depth for all levels, because it came as an inspiration, not as a translation. It came in its purest form. And it's used a language which was a language that was closer to the ability of, at the time where senses were, expanded. Those who could read in those days, their senses were expanded. Not all. Most people couldn't read anyway. So it was never written for them anyway. Does that make sense? The few that were writing and the few that were composing, the few that were connected, their language was expanded and expressed unlimited potential of depth that now we have the option to discover, but ultimately not only by reading, but almost discovering in us and then seeing it in the text, discovering in us and then seeing it in the text. So I hope that makes sense. Yes, it's very deep and tough lessons today. So nothing that ever happens in our life is coincidental, and everything that happens in our life is given to change based on growth and based on time and based on generations and based on not only personal karma, but family karma, karma of nation, karma of humanity. When everything is changing, then everything changes. When everything is affected. Personal life alone, not enough. This is why you see people who, when they achieve a higher level within themselves, they have a natural need to teach, inspire. When they reach a certain level, they have a natural desire and need, and they don't know why, for public service, for giving the wealth away, for inspiring education, they don't even know why, because the only other way for them to feel complete and alive is to give back. To stop their own suffering. Naturally.
Or also sometimes people experience something themselves in their life or when they were younger, and then they want to give that, or they want to contribute to that they experienced and suffered with, to give back.
Look, there's a lot of people today that are using other people's examples. I had something tough in my life, and they shared it. I might as well share it too.
Okay, no,
And-
so let me say, because I want your feedback. Okay,
Yeah.
No, it's something that I experienced.
Okay.
In the village, when I was 3 years old, I
Mhm.
came from very humble beginnings.
Right.
I experienced going to bed hungry.
Okay.
Okay, and I have a vision, because I started kindergarten here. So I remember, saying, "Mommy, I'm hungry," and I remember I have a vision of my mother sitting in a chair and going like this to come.
Right.
And I'm kind of emotional now, and she held me in her lap and rocking me back and forth until I fell asleep.
Right.
Tell me she'll give me something to eat.
Right.
So I have a few visions from the village when I was very young, 2 years old, or we had a white horse and she would go down to the fields
Right.
and she would put me on the horse and she told me later when we came to Canada that I would say to her, there in the village walking down the fields, "Mommy, now that I'm small and you're big, you're carrying me. Tomorrow when you're small and I'm big, I'm going to carry you."
Right.
In my little 2.5-year-old voice.
Very
and in
good.
the fields, she would tie a cloth from one tree to the other to make like a little hammock or a little
Right.
put me in.
Right.
And we had no toilet inside that, it was like 2 rooms and underneath was like a few chickens or whatever, right?
Right.
So we had no inside toilet. So I remember these visions. So, and I've always growing up, I've always had this inside it. So it's not other, it's something that I personally experienced. That I, somehow before I pass away from this life, I'd like to contribute and give something back to homeless children or something. I don't know in what way, shape, or form.
Right.
I don't know how, but I
Okay.
just know that
Have you started doing that?
I will. I have, I did something that I was told afterwards that I had put myself in big danger.
Right.
I was on Spadina and College, and on the east side, there's Tim Hortons, and on the west side is where Goodwill is.
Right.
And at that time, I was living at my mother's house on the main floor. It was just right after my separation, divorce, and
Yeah.
my children were young. And I went into Tim Hortons to get myself a coffee, and I couldn't help overhearing because they were sitting
Yes.
there.
Yes.
A boy and a girl, maybe 15 years old.
Mhm.
And they were talking how they were just finished prostituting themselves and
Mhm.
drugs and they're homeless and
Mhm.
they were hungry and so I just turned around and I joined them on the table. I sat
Right.
down and I just heard their stories. And actually, part of my ignorance, but it's the first time in Canada that I heard, which I was really surprised, that you cannot collect welfare if you don't have an address.
Right.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
So,
Well, anyway, to make a long story short,
I took them, so I rather talk to them, and it just really broke my heart. So I had the basement, which has stairs from the outside to go down to the basement, where I was living at my mother's house. So I promised them, I said, promise me if I provide you an address, if I provide you food, if I provide you, when you go back to school, will you, and they said yes, 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 and to take them off the street. So I took them both to my house in the basement. It's renovated, had a bathroom and everything, and I would bring them food every day. And everything, and I talked to the girl's mother, and the mother didn't want to have anything to do with the girl.
right.
And after I had them there for about 3 weeks, and I was, and the third week, I went downstairs. They had my phone. And one thing was, let's talk. Call me every day.
Faster, faster, faster.
Okay, and then after 3 weeks, I went downstairs and I had disappeared.
Right.
And I was really distraught. Actually, it affected me because, I really grew to care for them, to like them. And
Right.
I was really hopeful that
Right.
they would do something. It was just,
They weren't ready.
with what I experienced in the village, for them to have, be doing all these
So
things.
lucky for you that you went hungry, right? Lucky for them that you went hungry.
Yeah, hold on. So then someone told me, a professional actually told me that, that I had put myself and my young children in danger
Right.
because they said, you never do that. You always just call the appropriate authorities
Mhm.
because, they could have stolen from you. They could have,
Okay.
carried drugs around.
Okay, lucky you. But
Yeah.
sorry, yeah. Look, the truth is this: on a linear survival level, wished that her karma wasn't such that she would have to hold a child to sleep without having food to give her. But that situation created an opportunity in which, at least in its potential, you will be able to save many others who have hunger. Okay? So on one hand, your mother wished for her karma to be different, not realizing that her karma would inspire changing karma of many. Okay? So on a linear level. On a non-linear level, your suffering, quote unquote, and your mom's suffering, when overcame, built a character that maybe beyond the food and beyond the starvation, have built some immunity to challenges or fears of them. Depends, right? Depends on the energy. And it literally now expresses in all aspects of your life, not only when it has to do with food. Okay, so maybe it's holding you back. Maybe it became a cleansing of freedom, right? And it all depends on energy. Now, in the past, we were closer to reincarnation periods, and a lot of suffering happened, and then life was lost. I believe we are very quickly moving into a different era in which life situations have a greater purpose of awakening and not awakening through reincarnation. Very different time we're living in. The same time where we've given away all our instinctive power, memory power, predictive power to machines. Labor, physical, all the survival skills that we needed to have to survive and to continue living. We wasted our entire lives and died to develop. Now we've given to machines to do, and we're free to grow.
Thank you. Just very good. And what's interesting is my mother's father was in the States in Chicago. He spoke English and did businesses there. There were two brothers, but one brother had to go back to the village to take care of the parents, and my grandfather was a single one, and he went back to the village, and then America closed its doors, World War II started.
And he survived.
And the two brothers never saw each other again. And then when my mother immigrated here, he said to my mom, where you're gonna go, your children will never starve again, you'll have abundance of everything.
Yeah.
Right?
So life.
So that's interesting, how life, like my grandfather.
So look, there's a linear, horizontal survival level of learning that inspires things, and there is the hidden level that is even more powerful. You know, but I'm saying the shift of humanity right now, we're ready for the other. We're ready for no longer having to be born and die again to awaken, which is reincarnation. We're ready to learn here and now, but for that, we can't do it through disaster alone. Disaster kills. Illness kills the innocent, which hurts the most. We don't have to do that anymore. We were forced before because we were blind. We were believers. We're not believers anymore. Our belief is being redefined every day. We're no longer believers in everything is going to be okay. We're practitioners of making things okay through changing the sequence of our karma. Not only fighters for survival. Faith. There are no really completely good things or bad things. Who and how to define what is fortune and what is tragedy. A fortune at this moment may turn to a tragedy, and vice versa. Loss of loved ones or loss of everything we own indeed is a tragedy at that moment. However, if we have the right karma energy to go through the pain, we will gain the most out of these tragedies. No pain, no gain. No gain, no growth. No pain, no growth. Everything happens in our life as a purpose. It has a purpose. It's perfectly designed for us and for our growth. However, we need the right higher karma to face it, to go through it, and to grow out of it. This is just my thinking. Thank you, Faye. There's only one thing I'm going to add to this is there's a difference between pain and between suffering. Pain is not a challenge if there's no suffering. Pain is an inspiration. But suffering is suffering. So what we are ultimately working on is to be able to have a set of values, a perspective to unveil in our life, in our everyday life through meditation. Eliminate our suffering, because if you suffer, you don't grow. Sorry. Suffering is not going to bring you to enlightenment, to higher perspective, to being good for others, or health. So you're right about the pain. This is why pain sounds bad, but pain ultimately, no pain, no gain does not mean the pain of suffering. Different. Suffering has a lot of I in it. Suffering has a lot of I in it. That's why we suffer, because there's a lot of I. Alwina says, wow, excellent. Another excellent class. You are magnificent and your wisdom is breathtaking. Alwina, don't ever leave this class, yeah? Thank you, Eric. Yeah. She always has a way to compliment me somehow. I think time-wise, guys, we're not going to do anything else. I think time-wise, we just need to go because I don't want to hold anyone longer than we have to. I will send you all a bonus meditation to do at home as part of this class, and we're going to go from there. Thank you for this. Thank you for the questions. It is a topic that forever we're going to have to redefine it. It's not going to be a simple answer. But yes, we have everything we need to do both. Change the way we respond to things, no matter what happens. Like Faye said, or somebody else said, that we can't change what already happened. We have to only use it as an inspiration, but we also can change completely the path that our life takes by that influencing the path of loved ones, by that influence, depending of how much shift we've experienced, we have the ability to shift the lives of others. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Until next time.